Good afternoon, everyone. Shalom. I'm Shosh Bedrosian, spokeswoman for the National Public Diplomacy Directorate here in the Prime Minister's office. I'll take a few questions after a couple of very brief points to share with you. Just make sure you put your questions in the chat of the Zoom with your name and your outlet. It is Thursday, October 23rd, and today is day 748 since Hamas launched its brutal war on Israel. It has been 10 days since our 20 living hostages have returned home, and we're still waiting for the return of our 13 deceased hostages that are still in captivity right now. The urgency to bring them all home continues, as is a commitment Prime Minister Netanyahu has made from the beginning of this war. Let me start today with Israel's rejection of the ICJ's advisory opinion on the Hamas-infiltrated UNRWA. The ICJ chose to ignore our extensive evidence proving Hamas's infiltration into UNRWA. The United Nations has never investigated the full extent of this infiltration that took place specifically on the morning of October 7th and after it for the last 2 years. Israel will not cooperate with an organization that is connected and is actively engaging in terror activities, masked as an agency that helps people using its status as UNRWA to cover up its terror operations and direct connections with Hamas, the terror organization. We are at a point in time in history where moral clarity is a thing of the past, where upholding legal standards is optional, and listening and investigating true presented evidence is bypassed. Let me tell you some facts about UNRWA you probably know, but maybe are not reporting on it. The advisory opinion did not call out the terrorist activity that UNRWA has been involved in, with 12% of its employees part of Hamas. There is strong evidence Israel obtained that 18 UNRWA employees participated in the Hamas-led massacre on October 7th. Our hostages were also directly impacted by UNRWA employees, aka masked Hamas terrorists. 19-year-old Noah Marciano, who was kidnapped on October 7th, was murdered in an UNRWA hospital. 84-year-old Ditsa Herman, also known and kidnapped on October 7th, was held by an UNRWA teacher. British citizen and 28-year-old Emily Damari was held by Hamas at UNRWA facilities during her captivity. And 21-year-old Jonathan Samarano's limp body was kidnapped by an UNRWA social worker on Kibbutz Be'eri after he was murdered by Hamas that horrific morning. The ICJ says there's no evidence UNRWA breached impartiality requirements. Then explain to us all of the facts that we just laid out here for you. The corrupt ruling by the ICJ was predictable for us and a clear political attempt to impose political measures against Israel under the guise of international law. Israel fully upholds its obligations under this law and fully rejects the politicization of international law, which is seeking to produce political outcomes and impose measures intended to harm the state of Israel. UNRWA is desperate to be relevant again. They have been cut out of aid distribution because it was going to Hamas themselves. They are a thoroughly corrupt organization, and the Knesset has actually ruled that Israel will have nothing to do with UNRWA. The ICJ's advisory opinion also said Israel is obligated to bring essential supplies into the Gaza Strip. Well, as much as the news outlets reporting on Gaza aid don't like to hear the truth, I can confirm Israel is bringing hundreds of trucks of aid and thousands of trucks on a weekly basis into the enclave on a daily basis. We are upholding our side of the agreement, and Israel is committed to doing so as this agreement continues. There is pure fabrication in the media right now, perpetuating a lie that aid is not going into Gaza. Hundreds of trucks are flowing into the Gaza Strip through the Kerem Shalom crossing and crossing 147 every single day. UNRWA is irrelevant, as none of their aid has actually entered the Gaza Strip since January, as Israel continues to allow hundreds of trucks in on a daily basis on its own. As mentioned in yesterday's briefing, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is here in Israel. He is arriving today. He will be meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu tonight for a meeting around 7 o'clock Israel time. This plan is a huge success, and the Prime Minister is happy to welcome the Trump administration as this plan came to fruition together. I will now take a few questions. Joel Pollack from Breitbart News, can you describe the significance of J.D. Vance's visit to Christian holy sites today? Israel is an incredible place. It is an incredible place for many reasons. One of them is the religious freedom that is here. Whether you are Muslim, whether you're Christian, and whether you are Jewish, you have an opportunity to go to these incredible holy sites. And that's the beauty and that's the magic of Israel. So the fact that Vice President Vance had this opportunity, this is something that's expected, and we welcome everyone to come to our holy sites here. We will continue to preserve them for moments as special as that one. What is your response? I don't know the name of this person who asked the question. It's just a number. What is your response to Secretary Rubio saying that the annexation of the West Bank threatens President Donald Trump's plan to end the conflict? And what is the government's position on this specifically? This is a democratic country. We welcome all opinions from all of our politicians here in the state of Israel, where people can speak their minds and support causes such as this one, the heartlands of the Jewish people. I believe this is actually Emily from Reuters who's asking this question. In recent meetings with visiting senior officials, VP Vance, Witkoff, Kushner, who have come here to discuss the ceasefire and the Trump's 20-point plan, what has been the message from Israeli officials? Has the government reassured the Americans that Israel is committed to the plan? Well, the Americans know that Israel has been committed to the plan from the beginning. From day one, all parties agreed to this plan. And we are waiting for Hamas to also uphold their side of it. But there, of course, is optimism. We want this plan to work out. We are hoping that the rest of our deceased hostages will be returned home. We are demanding for the remains of our 13 deceased hostages and are expecting Hamas to deliver on that, to bring home the rest of our remaining hostages that they committed to. Remember, under the 20-point plan, 48 hostages, all of our 48 hostages are expected to be released. There are 13 deceased hostages that have not come home yet, and we are expecting and demanding, as I've said over and over again the last few days during this week, for them to be returned. And the expectation is that Hamas fulfills their side of the agreement. But just the partnership between Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump and his incredible team, who continues to come here to work with us to fully implement this plan, this is the collaboration that is going on here, and it's a really positive thing, and these relationships are very close between both of these teams. Adam Parsons from Sky News, can you tell us what evidence you have that 1,400 members of staff at UNRWA are active Hamas members, and also when will you open the Rafah crossing? So in terms of the UNRWA, all of the details just some of the details actually that I laid out for you, a lot of this was obtained through intelligence and from documents the IDF have been able to put out. And this is exactly what we have been saying for the last 2 years. To think that an UNRWA social worker actually picked up the body, a limp body of one of our released hostages, Yonatan Samarano. Can you imagine a social worker doing such a thing, putting it into the back of a pickup truck? This surveillance video is actually online, and I suggest that media outlets can pull it and run it in their packages and in their newscasts today, because this was an UNRWA employee that did this, picking up a limp body of a man who was murdered by terrorists, who was fleeing. He was killed outside of Kibbutz Be'eri, thrown into the back of a truck, and his body kidnapped into the Gaza Strip. That is UNRWA for you. That is a social worker of UNRWA. So please make sure all of that gets inside of your story today. It's just one of the horrific examples of the infiltration by Hamas into a United Nations organization here. In terms of the Rafah crossing, it is closed right now. But like I said, and I hope all media outlets are listening to me right now, there are hundreds of trucks of aid that are going into the Gaza Strip. I continue to hear this lie and fabrication inside of the media. Why is there no aid going into the Gaza Strip? There is aid going into the Gaza Strip on a daily basis. Thousands of trucks are entering the Gaza Strip on a weekly basis. Okay, so those are the questions that I see right here. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us today.